Hey folks, I'm Wes Brown, resident bow technician and media producer for Redline Bow Hunting, and welcome to the shop. We're in a little bit different spot today because we're just going to talk. We're going to talk about three different types of sights, movable sights that is, and what they have in common, their pros and the cons, and maybe one of these is going to be the sight that you're going to want to choose for this upcoming season. We have 3D season coming up, turkey season. In my opinion, it's never postseason, it's always preseason. So if I'm not hunting something, it's preseason to something else, right? So whether it's target or, actually hunting. But so I'm always trying to understand my equipment the best I can. And, now I would really like to just hopefully help you guys make a good educated decision on what sight you're going to use this year. And, whether it's a Redline or it's not, this is going to be applicable kind of throughout the industry as far as sights go. But we'd love for you guys to shoot Redline. So, go to redlinebowhunting.com, find a dealer near you. Some of the things are also on sale online. But anyway, what we're going to go over is whether I should shoot a single pin, a 2-pin, or a 3-pin. And, all of these sights, again, are all movable, so they're your standard movable sights. They all come, we'll just go with what they all have in common and what's good about all three of them. And, all three of ours, at least, have the movable sights are going to have your 3 access points. Now, the only exception is our RL1. It has 2 access points, but it's an incredible sight. It's got carbon fiber bracket. It has, machined aluminum, very light, very compact, and very durable. I just don't have that with me today. But we're going to be using the RL2 DTMs and the Torch today. But yeah, so they all come with the 3 access point adjustments, which is incredibly important when it comes to making sure that the sight is going to be perfectly set up to your shooting style and your bow. On top of that, all of them are machined aluminum, very light. Now, these two here are dovetails, DTM dovetail mount, but the RL2s also come in a bracket mount, and obviously the Torch comes in a dovetail and a bracket mount. And that's really as far as what they have in common, besides being, they're movable, 3 access point adjustments, and they also have pins. That's about it. But let's just go over the RL2 DTM single pin. Now you can see here, it is a single vertical pin going up and down, and there's really nothing else in here, which in my opinion is a really cool feature as far as not having to think too much about where and what pin you're going to be using. You only have to worry about 1 pin and that's it, which is really kind of nice, especially in those high adrenaline pumping moments where it's like, okay, all you had to do is range that deer, turn it to whatever yardage that deer's at, pull back and shoot, right? You don't have to think about other pins. But really what I like about a single pin is the simplicity of it, but also how I can literally hit a yardage point. Like if it's 31 yards, I can turn that to 31 instead of 30, right? So if I'm gonna be on a 3D range, or if I have a bow that I use 3D and hunting, I really enjoy having that single pin because I can be almost just so exact. It gives me a lot of confidence. I shoot a lot, and having that confidence on top of my equipment, it really is irreplaceable. Another thing that I really like about a single pin is, the single pin, they're movable sights, so I can reach out and distance. Now, with the single pin, you have to be careful, right? So the single pin, when you set this up on your bow, it's, I guess the drawback would be if you have a heavy arrow with, maybe you're shooting 250, 260, maybe 270 feet per second. A single pin's really not going to get you out to that distance that a lot of people like to shoot. So if you're going to go to a Total Archery Challenge or something like that, and you want to shoot 120, 130 yards, a sight like this might not be for you. So a single pin is kind of tough to use for those slower setups. And it's not saying you can't use it, but if you really want to reach out and touch something at 80 and 90, 100 yards, this sight might not be for you. But if you do have a setup that you're in the 285s, 290s, 300s, a single pin is great. You start thinking about those heated moments, right? So a deer's walking in, you pull back because you already ranged it, you've already dialed it down to whatever yardage that deer was at, you draw back, something happens, and all of a sudden that deer is, a 10 yards further. Now you don't know that because you have to range it again. Now you could, if you know your equipment and your area, you could easily make an educated shot, and that's really just on you and how much time you put in your equipment. But there's that disadvantage of you're gonna have to let down, you're gonna have to range the deer again, you're gonna have to move your sight, draw back and shoot, right? Now there's a trick that I do with a single pin, and this is again, knowing your equipment. And I've done a video on this with the torch, and it kind of applies with the single pin is, I'll set, because of my setup, I'll set my pin at 27 yards, and I know that I'm 3 inches high at 20, and then I'm 3 inches low at 35, and that means I'm good out from 20 to 35 yards. So that really gives me a little bit of, I guess, cushion and leeway when I'm hunting. So like if they just make another a loop, right, and I can tell it was no more than 5 yards, I'm going to aim in the same spot and I know I'm going to kill that deer. So just some things you got to think about with a single pin that's movable. All right, so let's go right in now with that in mind, right? Like we have these these yardage issues, right? So if a deer again goes to like 40 yards, you had it at 30, you don't know, or you do know, and you want to still be precise, a 2-pin is an excellent choice. So the torch, of course, the torch, of course, has 2 pins. No, never mind, sorry. The torch has 2 pins. You guys hopefully can see it here. And that second pin is adjustable. So if you have a torch, if you want to know more about how to use that second pin, watch some of my other videos, but it's really neat. So, if I want to set that second pin to hit at 40 yards when my top pin is at 30 yards, I can do that. And, there's so many different scenarios and different combinations that you can do with this sight. This one in particular has 2 yardage indicators. So, one you have it on the wheel, and then you have it on the your standard vertical, and it has 2 arrows. So like if you're at 30 yards, that second arrow is looking at 40 yards because that's how you set that second pin up. So having that second pin really allows you to expand your shooting distances without moving that sight. And it's really cool for Western hunters, especially like an elk. Elk could come in really close. And then literally within a second be 30 yards away and you still have a shot, right? And like if you set this at, like for me, I set it at 27 yards, and without going any further into explanation, I'm good from 20 to 40 yards. Incredible sight, and having that second pin is kind of, for me now, almost a standard. I almost don't want to go back to a single pin, but they all have, again, their qualities in their own right, and I have bows set up with each of these. Now, with the distances that people may have issues with a slower setup or a real heavy setup, this could really help, having that second pin. But really what I think helps the most in those situations is a 3-pin, and that's where I suggest people to get. If you have a kid or someone who just doesn't shoot a lot of speed, a 3-pin, but wants that movable sight because they want to be able to get individual yardages or be able to reach out to those 80, 90, 100, 110 yards. Obviously, I don't, depend on your skill set and how you feel, you might not be shooting that far, right? And that's okay, but you might want to practice, right? Because the further we shoot, the more it really starts expanding our issues, right? And it really starts showing them. So it's really fun to shoot at distance. And some people don't get to do that because with a movable sight, just because of the way their setup is. Now, a 3-pin movable sight is fantastic for those types of people. And if you want to have those extra pins, it's a great choice, because now the way I have people set these up is your top pin is going to be a fixed pin 20. That middle pin is going to be a fixed pin 30, and that bottom pin is your movable pin, right? Now, listen, that bottom pin stays there. Once you sight it in at 40 yards, so you have 20, 30, 40, that's going to stay right there. And the only thing that moves, obviously, is the entire housing, just like a movable sight would be. But that 40-yard pin is going to be what I would call your roamer, which means that you're going to use pin gapping or just pin placement out to 30 yards. So you have 20, 30, right? And you don't move the sight. And then at 40, if you have a 40-yard shot, you still don't move the sight. But then when you want to reach out and touch something past 40 yards, you can do that in individual yardages. Now, I've done a video on how to set up and how to use a 3-pin sight, so go back and watch one of those. I won't get into too much more detail, but a 3-pin sight is a fantastic sight to use when you really want to get out and touch something, but you have a heavy setup. Or if you just find that, it's really hard to get past 60, 70, 80 yards with a single pin. Now, obviously, all of these sites require a professional to set them up. Sometimes we require, or sometimes we, think as ourselves as professionals. And I do have setup videos, but a pro shop will really get these set up properly to your bow, because depending on your setup, what you had on there before, maybe you did a release change, maybe you did a sight change, a movable sight might really just mess your whole entire setup up, and you'll be like, oh my God, I made a big mistake. You didn't. Go to a bow shop, one that knows what they're doing, and they're going to be able to set these sights up for you perfectly, and you're really going to be able to reach out and shoot those distances that you want. But as far as the cons on a 3-pin and a 2-pin, in my opinion, the only cons are the amount of thinking you have to do. Sometimes you have to remember what that second pin is doing. You have to remember what that fourth pin is doing. I'm sorry, the 40-yard pin, that third pin. A little bit more thinking. But guys, what I would love for you to take away from this video, on top of maybe making a good educational decision on what you should shoot this year, but really it's knowing your equipment. Whether you have a 5-pin fixed pin sight, 5 fixed pin sight, 5-pin sight that is fixed pinned. Anyway, sorry. You got to know your equipment. So if you're pin gapping, right, if you're trying to shoot 25 yards and you only have a 20 and a 30-yard pin, you know your equipment. You have to shoot, guys. This is a huge process, sighting in a bow, picking every aspect of what you want for your equipment. It's a process, and it takes time, and it's a lot of trial and error. And it pays to have a good network of people that you work with within archery, because you can sell some stuff, you can buy some stuff, you can borrow some things. There's a huge network of archers out there within your community. I promise, they're close by. But again, guys, it doesn't matter what sight you shoot, you just got to know your equipment. But I'll tell you, single pin, 2-pin, 3-pin, they're incredible choices, especially for movable sights. My favorite is the 2-pin right now. The Torch is brand new, but I will say, for the last, probably before the Torch came out, I never touched any other sight except for a single pin, and I loved them. I shot a 3-pin this year a little bit. I did enjoy it because I was able to, the way I set my bow up, it was kind of fun to just be like, okay, 20, 30, 40, and then I could reach out and, dial it down. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, guys, just hopefully this helped you out. We at Redline, we offer all of those. We have a single pin, a 2-pin, a 3-pin, yeah, so if you guys have any questions at all, please shoot us a message at info@redlinebowhunting.com, or drop us a comment here in this video, or shoot us, a call, Instagram DM, slide into our DMs, whatever you got to do. But anyway, I hope this helped you guys. I don't care. You don't have to buy ours. I hope you do. But make a good, educated decision. Watch some more videos, and hopefully you find that sight that's going to give you the confidence to really hammer it down this year. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.